Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
You do it.
Okay, hello. I swear I heard somebody whispering in my ear. What is that?
I was trying to monitor
Oh.
the show if the commercial came.
Oh,
so
okay,
I just
okay.
texted out.
Okay. Thought I was hearing things. Hello. It is June 4th. If you see some flashing going on here, which gives me headaches, it's a fire alarm in the building, and we don't get the noise because we have a studio. On the other hand, I don't hear any noise. Is there a in the rest of the building? Is it something audio? It's just this. You don't know?
I think it's just the light.
Really, just the lights for everybody? Oh, I thought it was special because we were in a studio and on the air. Apparently not. Okay. Hello. It's Tuesday. That's right. It's June 4th, and I don't want to talk about it. The Pirates. I mean the Penguins. Oh, both of them have. Susan here.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
We're a sort of sad town. We're having difficulties with our teams right now.
Were you eliminated? I don't pay any attention.
No, we're not eliminated, but we're strangely 2 games down to the Bruins, who beat us twice on our own rink, and we're generally believed to be the better team, and we've been killed by them. It's like, how does a team that looks awesome all of a sudden look like idiots?
I don't know. You can never figure out how it is that suddenly they lost the wind in their sails. You can never figure out what it is that popped the balloon. I don't get it.
But it's at exactly the wrong...
Well, that's when you notice these things.
That's when you notice. God almighty. Unbelievable. And the Pirates, who've been really amazing, keeping you in their sights, you Cardinals, which ain't easy to do.
They are. They're hanging right along. I mean...
Yeah, but
if we didn't strangely, we're a young team, and they don't know how we do things.
Yeah.
So they've come out strong.
Well, they're amazing. I mean, they got the best record in baseball, but we ain't far
They
behind
do,
you.
and they're fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, I feel that way about the Pirates, but we aren't that far behind. But we're struggling all of a sudden.
Staying right with us.
Yeah, up until last week, and we're starting to wobble. I don't like it. We're losing like we shouldn't have lost. I don't know. Anyway.
Hang in there. This can't go on all season.
No. But, I mean, I really assumed, and maybe the Penguins did too, that the Stanley Cup belonged to us this year. And maybe that's the problem. As soon as you get cocky like that, like...
Well, I don't think that's wrong. I mean, because if the players start feeling that way, they lose their edge.
Also, the team that has now beaten them twice in the playoffs, Boston, we beat during the regular season, I believe, every game we played them. Mm-hmm. So, what?
You were hungrier then. They're hungrier now.
Psychology. It's what it has to be, because the it's all psychology at this point, isn't it? The
I would think
skill
pretty
level,
much.
the skill level of the teams is the same as it was. The coaching is the same. The only thing that can be different is something going on in somebody's head.
Yep.
But when a whole team's head gets screwed up,
but that stuff. That stuff is the essence of what makes a team work. It is. I mean, it call it chemistry or electricity, but bodies and brains and teams communicate somehow that level of energy and competitiveness and oneness, and we're going to do thisness. And it's more than an idea. It's an actual, I think, thing that puts the bodies in sync.
Something is very mysterious. Yeah, I do too. There's something. But a lot of people would say, that's coaching.
No, I think a lot of it has to do, honestly, with the way our brains and bodies respond to certain circumstances, and that I would imagine that people that are really good competitive team players have developed some sort of real physical, autonomic way of being one with the team. And that when that whole team accomplishes that, that's what a championship team looks like.
I'll tell you.
And it does account for why this team surges and your team deflates. Something just gets out of sync and the whole thing falls apart.
God, it's so weird, sport, and how we and the psychology of it for the fans too. How much better you feel when your team is winning, and how down you get when they lose, and it's also how important the tangible presence of your fans holding you up buoys the team. Yeah, well, that's why.
And when the whole place deflates, that happens too.
Yeah, well, for our team though to lose 2 games with our fans full-throated right there with them doesn't bode well for going back now to Boston and having to win 2 there with their full-throated fans who must be, just so giddy they can't see straight. Oh, well, screw it. Anyway, I just have to say. Bah! So, hi, Suze. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. You?
I'm okay, I guess. I am.
I have to say, St. Louis has been picked up and transported to northern Wisconsin, and
is
I'm
it cold
thoroughly
there?
enjoying myself.
Are you kidding? You're having a cool
We are
summer.
having sunny, 70-degree,
Oh, how
72-degree days, and with windows wide open and 55-degree nights.
And in your 30, 40 years there, you've never seen that before?
Oh, it's pretty rare. It's
Yeah.
much more likely to happen, say, in December
Yeah.
than in June. In
Well,
June,
enjoy.
I should be locked up tight.
Well, enjoy it. It is wonderful.
Yeah, it's just wonderful because most of the, allergies are gone, so you can actually do it.
Okay. So what are we going to talk about?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, then let's talk about Michael Douglas getting throat cancer from oral sex.
Well, I'm surprised that this is news because I've known that connection for a while now.
Well, it's news for most people. I mean, most people don't know that. And then I don't think this bodes well for oral sex.
No, which, I'm sure, it has millions of men celebrating.
That's what I think, too. Oh, thank God.
I'll tell you what it is. What it is that anybody that thinks that they shouldn't give their children this vaccination, and I bet you the vaccination rates will go up now, that it is a cause of, head and neck and mouth cancers in men.
So this is the same, this papilloma virus.
It's how that papilloma virus shows itself in men. And men have carried it for a long time.
Well, apparently almost all of us carry it.
Most of us carry it.
Right.
But but it is sexually transmitted pretty much exclusively. So the argument to getting to your children young and vaccinating them really means that you could sort of stamp this out. And it is a leading cause of cancer in women in terms of cervical cancer.
Yeah.
And it is now going to be probably the leading cause in men of mouth and neck cancer.
Okay, so wait a minute. So the vaccination, that's not something that somebody... I mean, this is for young people to get. It's not something for...
You're forgetting that there was a huge brouhaha.
I do know. I'm not forgetting.
Last year or two.
It was supposedly
when this vaccination first came out, because the recommendation was
for
to give
girls.
It to your young children, before there's any possibility, theoretically,
of sexual
contact.
Yeah.
And people were all up in arms that you would give sort of the sex drug, to children.
So
Which
if you
was
gave
how
this,
it was,
okay,
so wasn't, and that's not it. What it is that it's a ubiquitous virus that leads to cancer. So get the vaccine before there's any chance of exposure. Period. Now this is beginning to make a little sense, maybe.
Okay, but it makes no sense for someone who's older to get it.
No, unless you test and you don't have HPV, which you might not. If you've only had one sexual partner in your life and that person has only had one sexual partner, then you can go through life without having it.
Jeez, well, that certainly takes me out of the running.
On the other hand, if you've only had two sexual partners and the first one wasn't good, you could have it.
Wait a minute. The first sexual partner wasn't good?
I don't mean good, but if it was infected, you could have it. It doesn't imply promiscuity in as much as it does whether you've had, just had an encounter with the majority of people who are infected.
Can you imagine there are a lot of people who've only had one sexual partner?
Yeah.
But what if that sexual partner wasn't any good? I'm coming
back
to what you said.
How would they know?
That's right.
They probably don't like sex.
Is that where ignorance is bliss? I don't know. No, they would know if they were. I don't know. Well, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to offend anybody. Okay. So, but here's the other thing Michael Douglas apparently said, which so confused me, and I haven't seen anybody address this. He said oral sex can give you the cancer, and it can also cure the cancer. That's what he said.
Well, that's sort of nuts.
You didn't see that he said that?
No.
I don't think I dreamt it. I think he
I don't
did say it.
understand the cure part unless it's all about his mood.
His mood? Oh, okay. All right. I just wanted to... Now what should we talk about? Oh, I know. I got a note from a friend the other day to attend an event called the Circle of Faith Walk at one of our parks on a Sunday afternoon. And she described it as a pro-inclusion of LGBT interfaith event that is mostly just walking around a reservoir for an hour in witness. So anyway, then she said, I noticed the official card I received, though, says the event is about, and here's the quote, welcome and inclusion for LGBTQIA. And my friend, who's pretty much in the know, said, okay, I think I know what Q is, but what's I and what's A? Okay, LGBTQIA. Now, why don't we just throw in every other letter in the alphabet? I mean, this
Maybe
is
it's
getting...
iffy and agnostic.
She thought maybe A was asexual.
Yeah.
But if you're asexual, why do you even care about being having a title? I mean, that's absurd. Asexuals unite.
And I could, just be independent.
An independent? I can't,
I knew it.
Did you say iffy? Who said iffy?
Yeah, I said iffy.
Oh, you said iffy.
I knew it yesterday.
You did know it yesterday? Well, think of it. Okay, and then what? Q. I thought, it's queer, but no, it's not. She thinks Q is. Do you have a Q, Susan? Can you think of what Q is?
No.
Questionable.
Yeah, well, you're close. Jess says questionable, and my friend said she thinks Q is questioning.
Oh, maybe questioning.
Okay.
But that's what I meant, iffy.
Okay, right. I don't know what I am. I don't know.
Well, that should be W.
Which would stand
For who am I?
For...
Oh, that's what it is. She had them in the wrong order, and it was missing the W.
Wrong. Okay. LGBT. Lesbian, gay, bi, trans, QIA. Anybody know?
Intersex.
Intersex? You know that's it?
Yeah.
What the fuck does that mean?
I was going to say queer and abstention.
Queer and abstention. What is intersex?
I think it's like when you are undergoing.
When you're undergoing, so you're in between.
Your parts.
Okay, you might have.
Why does every stage of everything have to be named?
Thank you, Susan.
That isn't
Thank
who
you,
you are at that
Susan.
point. That's simply where you are.
This is a guys in the LGBTQIA, SMNOP.
You don't each need to be. We're all individuals.
Stop this. This is getting
No, really,
silly.
we're all individuals, and we do not have to have an adjective by which we describe ourselves.
What is this need to label everything? Okay, why can't we agree that sexuality is a lot more complicated than a lot of people once thought, and that even a lot of people now still insist on thinking? It's from A to Z and everything in between, and there's no reason to keep adding these stupid letters. Unless you want people to start laughing about it. It's not something that, it's just getting absurd. LGBT.
Well, and heterosexuals have different sexual tastes and appetites, too, and we don't necessarily label each other, ourselves. Well, I suppose some of us do.
Well, what? Okay, wait, we got a call. Maybe we got somebody who knows this. Hello? Hello?
Hey, Lynn, it's Mike from D.C., your gay correspondent. How are you?
Oh, you're our gay correspondent? I didn't even know.
I know, I just made it up.
Okay.
Well, I used to work for the Pittsburgh AIDS Task Force.
Okay.
And all of this alphabet soup business comes from a bunch of people in committees, no offense, usually lesbians, who say, well, wait a second, if we don't include these people, we're like the broader population. So groups, committees, come together and say, well, we have to include them, because if we don't include them, then we're no better than the other people.
Oh, for
So that's where this alphabet business comes from. And it actually started with the lesbians when gay used to mean women or men.
Yes.
And all of a sudden lesbians said, well, what about us? We're lesbian too. And then it was G and L. And then what about the bisexuals? So that's where it comes from, and it is crazy. And I don't know a single person really who says GBTLI, whatever that was.
Now, yeah, but wait. So you mean you don't know what QIA is?
I knew questioning.
Oh, it is questioning.
I
Okay.
didn't know the rest of them.
You didn't know intersex? And,
No.
And A, we don't know, except for think it is asexual. Well, okay, if somebody's asexual, then I don't think they deserve a place at the table. Let them out. We're talking.
Well, there's a big documentary out about asexuals now, and I saw it. I think I saw it on Netflix, maybe, and it was talking about how they don't feel like they fit anywhere.
Oh,
We don't welcome them. The straight community doesn't welcome them. They're not welcome.
You know what?
So why is everybody presenting as a sexual or non-sexual object?
Yeah, why is that the definition of who we
of
are?
Who anybody is.
You know what I mean?
I can't offer you an explanation to that. Except to say that the whole rainbow flag thing, that we're a bunch of people all bonding together who are different.
Yeah.
That's what that whole alphabet soup business is about. What about me? Why don't you include me?
Oh, for God's sake.
So it's not going to end anytime soon.
You know, well, it damn well better.
So it's a symbol of individual group narcissism.
There you go.
But if you think about group dynamics, a lot of groups end because of fraction.
That's right.
Because the faction separates and say, no, then we're going to start our own group.
Right.
So there's no good way here. Once it was no longer the gay movement, it was the gay and lesbian movement.
So it was the lesbians that screwed this up. They're the ones who started refusing to be acknowledged as gay. They wanted their own lesbian thing. And then once the gays and lesbians happened, then the bis stepped up.
Right.
And then after
see where we're going with this now?
Yeah, well, now we see where we're going, and we're going into silliness. I mean, absurdity. God. I mean, of course this is something that happened as a result of well-meaning, and I'll add Susan's narcissistic people who don't realize that if you're presenting yourself and a cause, that this will only garner ridicule.
Well, because
if you've ever been on a committee with gays and lesbians on it, you can see how this just fits in.
If you've ever been on a committee with gays and lesbians, I'm telling you, it's the same. My sense of a committee of lefties.
Yeah.
Because you break into, oh my God, you know, like it's the commies, the Trotskyites, and they want to kill each other.
Right. I was once at, when I worked for the Pittsburgh Gay Task Force, behind a table doing HIV prevention, and a lesbian walked up to me and she said, well, where's our dental dam? And I said, luckily for you guys, the transmission rates for lesbians is very small, and usually they have it through heterosexual sex with men. Wow, she made this huge thing, called my boss. So we had to start providing dental dams just to deal with their anger of, we're not included in the AIDS crisis.
Oh, dear Lord in heaven.
Well, there is a time to say thank God.
Yeah, right. Oh, I'm so happy we aren't go away instead of making it into, I don't know, this kind of thing makes me nuts. Well, thanks for your explanation, which certainly has the ring of truth about it.
Yeah, it sure does.
Ay. Thanks, Mike. Does anyone know? Okay, we have it questioning what'd you say?
Well, asexual. He thinks it's asexual, and I gave a good explanation for it. But
okay.
The thing is that, you know, at a certain point, I think that the movement, and I'm not going to go through the alphabet, has done a real fine job of accomplishing some major goals, and bringing, you know, bringing their lives into the norm of American society, and I don't think it would have happened without all of those committees and without all of that stridency and without all of that stuff. But at a certain point, I would think that it reaches the point of diminishing return.
And we might be approaching it.
And does what you say is happening. When people who are our friends and whom we respect make themselves the object of ridicule by insisting on things that at a certain point are no longer necessary. Your sexuality does not have to be your first foot forward anymore. I do not think that in the mainstream one necessarily has to continually be that defensive. And that's what it represents. at some point it comes a time to relax. And I don't think that, and I freely admit there are parts of the world and the country where that is certainly not true. And that the fight needs to continue. But,
oh, God, yes.
You know.
But really, come on, guys. This
if
alphabet
you're
soup
asexual, why does it concern you?
Exactly.
If you're happy with who you are, get on with it.
Yeah. You don't need to. Labeling in general drives me nuts. And it's
too.
Labeling that sort of gets...
It limits who you are.
It's why you ended up having to have... Yeah, the fact that there were people who were considered queer, that's a label. And that label begot all kinds of, awful stuff. But now for the gay community to itself be creating these different factions, and it's crazy. I'm sorry, it's crazy. Granted, I understand the education that is occurring of all of us about these issues of different sexuality.
At this point, we got to have an H in there, Lynn.
What would that be?
Because we're listing everybody but heterosexual.
Yeah! What about us?
Give an H, and why don't we admit that we're all just human beings?
Oh, I heard the cutest story the other day. This has to do with a little boy of 8 saying to his mom and dad that, do you think it's okay, to have a crush? And is it all right to have a crush? And they were answering, sure, people have crushes. And he wasn't saying he had a crush, but he was clearly. And so finally his mother said, so, who do you have a crush on? And he got very serious. And he said to his parents, well, would you be disappointed if I had a crush on a girl?
Oh!
And he did that because they had gone out of their way to let their children know.
To whoever he was.
Right. It didn't matter.
Parents need to just go back. Try not to be so welcoming and allow their children to become whoever they are. When they see it, they should be accepting. If it's within, the realm of fairly normal behavior.
Yeah, right.
If the child is blossoming into an obnoxious brat, that isn't one of the things we're talking about.
No. But you see a little 8-year-old, Mom, Dad, I'm sorry, but I think I'm heterosexual.
I can see that happening. Although I guess I prefer those parents. There's a whole group out there now that apparently believe you should never, ever say no to your child.
Oh, yeah, I bumped into those types. Oh, God, please, don't get me started. Oh, but speaking of the LGBTQIA community,
we wish you success and continued unity.
Well, all these letters bespeak, disunity.
Well, that's what I think is so funny.
Yeah, I do too.
They're doing it so that everybody feels included by separating everybody out.
Yeah, it's insane. Okay, that's what I think. That's what 2 heterosexuals think, okay? So nobody gives a damn. Anyway, did you see the story about this book that's coming out today? I guess. You'll be seeing a lot about it. It's called Warrior Princess.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's written by a former Navy SEAL.
Right.
And I'm looking at a picture of him, and he's got this scraggly beard, and he's a big guy, and he's blah, blah, blah. Well, he got out of the SEALs about, 6-7 years ago, and finally felt free to become what he always knew he was, which was a woman.
A woman.
Now, this is what I'm saying about the education of us. A story like that is still to me jaw-dropping. And I like to think I'm more sort of like I'm ahead of things, I'm aware, but that's still jaw-dropping to me. This guy is now Kristen Beck, and her memoir comes out today and details her journey through a 20-year military career in which she was a member of the elite Navy SEAL Team 6. Wow.
Right. Although, I mean, you know, in one way, it absolutely makes sense that you would a person would choose to be the most macho, you know, accomplished man one could be to cover up where they really wanted to go, and finally the world became a place where he could do that. It's actually sort of a wonderful story.
Well, as courageous as it is to become a Navy SEAL, it is every bit as courageous to do what this now woman has done.
Yeah.
From Chris Beck to Kristen Beck. Jeez, but I can't imagine.
I have to tell you, and she's a nice-looking woman.
Oh, did you see her as a woman?
Mm-hmm.
I can't find. I'm only getting as a scraggly beard
I
picture.
just Googled warrior princess, and
you got a picture of her?
Mm-hmm.
She looks okay?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the picture of her all scruffy?
Yeah, they're side by side.
Wow. I can't imagine. I'll have to look it up. Anyway, so I saw that story today, and that just... But, okay, so we got to take a break. I didn't even mean to get into any of that.
Oh, it's just you and me chatting. You know how it goes.
Oh, yeah. That's the way it goes. Okay, all you LGBTQIAHs out there, and if we left you out, don't take offense. We
just send in your initial. We'll tack it on.
Yeah, that's right. We'll tack it right on, okay? Because we aim to be inclusive of all, this panoply of human sexuality. Okay? We'll be back in a minute.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, attractions, and shows. This week, great deals on Go 8 vouchers, Sauce and Saga. Supplies are limited. Bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. Bergbargains.com.
Do you know this haunting Beethoven masterpiece? That Tolstoy felt turns man to a base animal? Join me, Martin Giles, for Pict's production of the Kreutzer Sonata by Nancy Harris, based on Tolstoy's scandalous novella. I promise it'll be a thrilling train ride that will forever change the way you hear music. Visit picttheater.org for tickets and information.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
All right, we are back. Susan, I turn to you now with this more serious story of the Supreme Court decision yesterday involving DNA collection. Did you... Are you aware of it, and did you read it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I have to admit, I mean, what's fascinating about this one is again, a 5-4 decision by our court, but it's not the usual 5-4. And the 4, the minority, who were against this ability of law enforcement people to collect DNA from somebody who is accused or suspected of a serious crime, not convicted, suspected. The 4 dissenters were, shouldn't surprise you, the 3 women, Ginsburg, Sotomayor, and I think Kagan, yes. And number 4, Antonin Scalia.
Mm-hmm.
So this is all about the 4th Amendment, which is the amendment that says that we shall be, I'm trying to remember exactly the wording, but safe from, Susan, what does it say?
Unreasonable search and seizures.
Unreasonable
Searches.
and seizures. Here I have. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Now, you would think that the right of being able to be secure in our persons would, is it reasonable if you are suspected of a crime to have, to allow the government to stick something in your mouth and pull out essentially your entire your DNA?
And I've gone back and forth with the decision.
I have too. I don't know what to make of it.
Once you allow fingerprinting,
yes,
which is used to they take because it is uniquely you and can be used to identify you. Well, that's a very old technology.
Right. And this is the newer one.
And we have always made the rule based on, the sort of how invasive a procedure is. Therefore, sticking a needle in your arm and drawing blood is different than putting a swab in the side of your mouth. Although it's invasive, it's not that invasive. And the fact of the matter is that a DNA registry is helpful and gets a lot of people in there.
We're heading toward.
In Missouri, as a lawyer, I had to be fingerprinted. I never did anything wrong. No one's ever accusing me of anything. But in order to be a member of the bar in Missouri, I have to be fingerprinted.
And I was fingerprinted.
Have to, willingly put myself in a registry with mostly criminals. And why do I not have a problem with that? Because I don't expect to find myself in a place where I don't want to leave my fingerprint.
Well, Susan, I would think that a lot of people would suggest that criminals and attorneys are, a group that...
One and the same?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to go there anymore. I'm going to tell you flat out that having gone to a school for 3 years and knowing more about a subject than you do doesn't make me a criminal. And making education bad is not a good thing, dear sister.
All right, already. Okay, so here is the other thing. I was fingerprinted to be able to be an adoptive parent.
Right.
So I got my fingerprints in the mix.
And if they had said, give me a DNA swab?
Well, because I wanted to be a parent, I would have done anything. Yes, I would have, I would have given them, blood, anything. But the...
I can argue this on both ways. It is invasive. And, blah, 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 blah. But once you get to have the fingerprint, I think it's really just a matter of the advancement of technology. And honestly, I'd rather have the federal DNA bank.
Here's what a University of Pittsburgh criminal law professor is quoted as saying. He says he thinks the majority reasoning is a stretch. He says it's very puzzling because all this time, through decades and decades, we've been able to identify 99.9% of all people just fine with fingerprints and photographs. They seem to be searching for a rationale to do what they wanted to do anyway, and this is not a very convincing rationale. That ultimately where we're heading then is a DNA base for everybody in the country, which makes Americans queasy.
See, but I don't get that. I mean, that's the kind of argument, if they slippery slope, but not necessarily. I mean, I don't think that taking a DNA swab on a person that's been arrested is, going to lead us to wholesale cataloging of our DNA any more than it did fingerprinting meant that everybody ended up getting fingerprinted. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Although most people get toe printed when they're born, but I don't know if that's the same thing.
Yeah, you get your little feet printed.
Get your little feet printed, but I don't think there's a natural registry of those either. So I don't buy it. I mean, I know that's the argument on that side, and I know the argument I presented is the argument on the other side. And honestly, I think mine is more rational, and I think theirs is more rational. It's irrational not to take advantage of technology that is there in the same way and according to the same restrictions that you use the previous technology. Not any broader, just the same way.
Okay.
It's better technology.
Okay. But a lot of people see the slippery slope you mentioned, including Scalia. He says, make no mistake about it, as an entirely predictable consequence of today's decision, your DNA can be taken and entered into a national database if you are ever arrested, rightly or wrongly, and for whatever reason.
That's right. And the same thing would happen to you if you were arrested, rightly or wrongly, for any reason. You would be taken in, you would have a mugshot, and you would be fingerprinted.
Mm-hmm.
But they aren't going to grab you off the street for no reason, take your DNA, and throw you out the door.
Yet.
And they aren't starting but that's ridiculous.
Okay. Now,
I mean, that's the argument you use against anything. Don't start because it'll get worse.
Well, I guess. Okay.
Worked with initials, but anyway.
Yes. This is an email from Chris. I know how you always mention obits on your show. I didn't know if you talked about Jean Stapleton. No, I did not. I thought she was fabulous as Edith on All in the Family, just as important as Carol O'Connor to the show. It's funny because they've been playing clips from the show, and they've been playing the opening song. I can still hear Doug and Lawrence singing their duet. Yeah, those are the days. They were spot on as Archie and Edith. Miss them both still. Yes. You know, it's funny. I never really, I'm not a sitcom person, and I never really watched that show because I watched it a few times. And I always thought, I know she's a very good actress. I always thought her Edith was clownish in a way. I don't know. See, I don't get sitcoms. Did you watch that, Susan?
No. I mean, I watched that years ago, but I watch I don't watch anything anymore. I don't watch all of these shows that everybody else is watching. I don't watch anything anymore.
There's some good shows out there, but I don't know. Anyway, speaking of television shows, the Writers Guild of America has come out with a list of what they consider their membership thinks are the best written TV series of all time.
Right, but everybody has their problems with it.
Well, of course everybody does. I got a problem. I got some big problems with it. And they go from 1 to, 101. So what do you have a sense of what you think the best written TV show is? And since I didn't watch them all, how the hell do I know?
Well, okay. I know what they said. I mean, they said The Sopranos.
They said The Sopranos were number one.
I think
very well
some
written.
People would agree with. I think a lot of people would agree with that. I know The Wire is in the top 10, and I know a lot of people would agree with that.
The Wire comes in, though, at number 9. I think
Wire... Yeah, and I think a lot of people would put The Wire at number 1.
That would be me.
Because it was more... I mean, this is about the best written things, and that was a more written show.
The Wire, I think, is, as Bill says, and as I now totally agree, is absolutely Shakespearean.
Yeah, if we're talking about the writing, I give it to The Wire.
Mm-hmm. Well,
hands down.
The Writers Guild does not. For those who didn't see this, the Writers Guild says The Sopranos, number 1. I mean, obviously, extremely well. Anybody in this top 25 is going to, have... You can. Seinfeld, they have at number 2. The Twilight Zone, they have at number 3.
Well, I think that makes sense. There were a lot of... I can rember a few of them that just scared me to death.
All in the Family they have at number 4. MASH, number 5. It's interesting how many comedies. I mean, somehow when I think of great writing, somehow I think of then I get serious and I think it's more like The Wire, The Sopranos. But no, so they've got Seinfeld, All in the Family, MASH. Number 6, another comedy, Mary Tyler Moore Show. Number 7, Mad Men. Yeah. I've OD'd on that show. I don't watch it anymore. Number 8, Cheers.
Yes.
Huh?
I love Cheers.
Number 9, The Wire. And number 10, The West Wing. I mean, those are all really good shows, right?
Yeah.
But what have I left out? Okay, so number 11, The Simpsons. Brilliant. Brilliant.
So some of those are so brilliant that...
Well, that I put The Simpsons...
I mean, I can remember watching the Mr. Hanky Poo episode before our brother even knew about The Simpsons and
Susan.
sending it to him. And I could hear him laughing so hard that he was going to,
Hanky Poo is a...
soil his trousers, from all the way from Michigan.
South Park.
South Park.
Oh, that was South Park, that's right.
I think The Simpsons is better written than, I don't know, All in the Family. I just don't, okay, so this is all just, and then after The Simpsons is I Love Lucy. Now, I would argue that I Love Lucy is not so well written as it is well performed.
She was, and I agree with you. I mean, Lucy was an absolutely incredible
physical
actress.
Physical comedian, right? That
it
wasn't
was
about
all
acting.
about her face and the way she moved and the sound of her voice. It was not about the words.
I agree. Coming in after I Love Lucy, if you want me to keep going here, back to our period, Breaking Bad. Which I've seen only the pilot of, and it's extremely well done. After Breaking Bad, I mean, these are such strange bedfellows. Okay, after Breaking Bad, we get the Dick Van Dyke Show. And after the Dick Van Dyke Show, we get Hill Street Blues.
And where's our show of shows? Is it on there?
Our show of shows?
With Sid Caesar and Imogene Coca and Carl Reiner. It's the show that launched all the other shows.
I don't see it.
Is Friday Night Lights on there?
Is it in there?
Yeah.
It is in there? What? Oh, you're saying it's Friday Night Lights. Just a second, everybody. Susan, I don't see our show of shows. And so, what the hell do these writers know? Okay, you want me to run down them or not?
Go.
Okay. Breaking Bad, The Dick Van Dyke Show, Hill Street Blues, Arrested Development, The Daily Show, 6 Feet Under, Taxi, The Larry Sanders Show, 30 Rock, brilliantly written.
Yeah.
30 Rock, Friday Night Lights, that's Jess's, that's at number 22. Frasier, Friends. You're kidding. Friends? And 25 Saturday Night Live. Well, depending on the show. I mean...
there couldn't possibly have been any in the last,
20 years.
Several years where there have been maybe 3 minutes of comedy per season.
Exactly right.
Per show. It's just blah.
Okay. Can I get going?
Yeah.
At 26, ladies and gentlemen, The X-Files. 27, Lost. 28, ER. I think these shows are okay. 29, The Cosby Show. 30, Curb Your Enthusiasm. I think that show's mostly ad lib. I do.
I think so, too.
31, The Honeymooners. It's a great, great show. 32, Deadwood. 33, Star Trek. Modern Family. Twin Peaks. NYPD Blue. The Carol Burnett Show. Battlestar Galactica?
That's a great show.
Oh, Sex in the Friggin' City at 39? That beats out Game of Thrones at 40? 41, The Bob Newhart Show, and, Susan, Your Show of Shows. That's a tie at 41.
Okay, there it is.
And 43 is another tie. Downton Abbey, Law and Order, and 30-something.
30-something sucked. Sorry.
Jess says 30-something sucked. Homicide.
Well, and Downton Abbey, even though I love it, is just a good soap opera. And,
Right.
That's like saying that, some romance novel belongs on the same shelf as Hamlet.
You tell him. All right. Well, I agree. I don't think this makes any sense. Okay, 46, Homicide, Life on the Street, and Saint Elsewhere. That's a tie, too. Then, moving on, Homeland, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and here's another tie. This one a weird. The Colbert Report, The Good Wife, and the English version of The Office. I mean, one thing you do see with this list is there have been a lot of really good shows, right?
Right.
Don't you think? Okay, I'm in the last 50s now. Northern Exposure, The Wonder Years, L.A. Law, Sesame Street, Columbo, tie for Faulty Towers and The Rockford Files, Freaks and Geeks and Moonlighting, Roots, Everybody Loves Raymond, and South Park. Oh, come on! At 63. I think South Park deserves to be much higher. Mm-hmm.
I would think so, too.
Here's Playhouse 90 coming in at 65, which was an old. Playhouse 90 did live drama, right, on TV.
Right.
And did
like Marty and stuff. I mean, they did some, world-class theater.
Right. Playhouse 90. Then Dexter. Then My So-Called Life, Golden Girls, The Andy Griffith Show, tied at 71, 24, Roseanne, and The Shield. We got all these ties. I'm not even going to say the tie. House, Murphy Brown, Barney Miller, I, Claudius, The Odd Couple, Alfred Hitchcock Presents, Monty Python's Flying Circus, Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Upstairs, Downstairs. This makes no sense to me at all. At 83, Get Smart, followed by The Defenders, Gunsmoke, Justified, Sergeant Bilko, The Phil Silver Show, Band of Brothers, Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, The Prisoner, Absolutely Fabulous, and The Muppet Show, tie. Boardwalk Empire, that's very well written. Will and Grace, Family Ties, Lonesome Dove, Soap, The Fugitive, Late Night with David Letterman, Louie, and Oz. That's it. I don't know. I mean, anytime you make lists, it's, to me, stupid. So there you have it, for what that's worth, which is nothing. I know we have to take a break. We have to take a break. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have read that whole stupid thing. We'll be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
While cutting molding with a 12-inch dual compound miter saw, while holding a newborn baby in your arms, when face to face with a congregation of alligators, with the ball in your hands and the entire freaking season on the line.
There are a million places you'd never consider texting. So why would you do it while driving? NASCAR driver Casey Kane here, asking you to please stop the text. And together, we can stop the wrecks.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Get the message at stoptextstopwrecks.org.
This week's Pittsburgh City Paper is available now. Pick up one today for an interview with Bill Peduto, plus Weird Al Yankovic, Pitbull, Kesha, Kendrick Lamar, and Brad Paisley. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone with GPS-enabled listings at citypapermobile.com.
Now, it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Well, now, Joseph has told us that his alphabet soup is different, and he says here is what that means. Gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgendered, queer, intersexed, and allies. Nah, we ain't buying that one, Joseph. I mean, doesn't queer mean all of it?
Right.
And allies, why should we be included? We don't want a little...
No, I mean, at a certain point, if everybody has a seat in the table, you don't need a club.
That is correct, and I'll tell you what, why don't we just agree that every individual is a unique sexual being? And in fact, there are 300 billion different sexualities on Earth. How many people?
Yeah, each of us experiences our own special sort of thing. I mean, that's it. We're all different.
That's right. And we just need to respect those differences, right?
Yeah.
That's all it is. So, Susan, did you by any chance check out the rather lengthy piece in Sunday's New York Times about colonoscopies and the costs? And
I sure did.
Is that beyond belief?
Well, it's because our pricing system makes no sense. It's and it isn't even a pricing system because everybody with any clout negotiates their own rate, and then the established price that we see is like the retail of all retails, which actually no one pays.
It says you could not create a more absurd system if you sat down in a committee and tried.
That's why when you get a hospital bill and you'll see that the Tylenol tablet that they gave you has a list price of $75.
Well, in the United States, the average price of a colonoscopy is $8,233. On a bar graph, you have to drop back thousands before you even get to the next country that has such a high price. So we pay top dollar and then some, and we don't get what you would expect then, the resulting quality.
Well, and the other thing is that there's a whole business model that's developed to pay that kind of money. That's why you have these little freestanding hospitals where you go in, and on the assembly line and get your anesthesia, get your colonoscopy, get your discharge, go home, get your bill.
That's right.
And the fact of the matter is that there are cheaper tests. Everybody doesn't need to go through that all the time. There might even be more effective tests that mean that you don't have to do anything except, get a swab or something. I mean, there's honestly this test that and the reason that we don't see it is because we don't know about it, because they don't want us to, because what's going to happen to all those colonoscopy clinics and all those docs?
So here's the thing. So all of those little stand-alone, surgery centers, ambulatory surgery centers, which exist now all over the place. And For instance, let's take one. A bunch of gastroenterologists, with a group practice, they create their own surgery center. Okay, this happens all the time. And they give it a name, like the Center for Digestive Health, in fact. And the doctors own the facility. So it's like owning their own little hospital. Now, if you have one of those ambulatory facilities, believe it or not, you can charge a lot more for the same procedure because they tack on sometimes as much as $3,000-$4,000 facility fee.
Well, right. You have to pay for the hospital. I mean, it's like the price per square foot.
Okay,
your colonoscopy is the price per your share of the price per square foot of that building.
Disgusting.
And the staff.
Okay, so they center on this one center in Long Island, which is no different than a million others, and they say that this center was set up with the help of a company that's based in Pennsylvania, which is called Physicians Endoscopy. And this is a business that exists to help these groups of doctors create their own little facilities and consequently facilitate increased profits. Listen to what the website of this Physicians Endoscopy, the Pennsylvania-based company, tells its prospective physician partners. You can look forward to distributions averaging over $1.5 million a year to all owners, namely all the docs in the facility. Over typically 100% return on capital investment within 18 months. And a return on investment of 500% to 2,000% over the initial 7 years. This is not how medical care should happen. This is insane. Susan, this is insane.
Yeah.
And it shows that once let's say a group of gastroenterologists, and obviously these can be other kinds of doctors too, but once a group does this and creates their own little surgery center, studies show that the number of procedures they need to perform on their patients increases by almost 30%.
Right.
This should be.
That's why you're on a colonoscopy assembly line. I mean, and I mean, the same article really does go on to point out that there are more effective, far less costly and invasive and unpleasant ways to check for colon cancer these days.
That's right.
And that the colonoscopy would be something you would do if that turned up your regular.
That is true. But what's the money in that?
Well, I'll tell you, the next time, my 5 years is up, I'm going to say to my doctor, I have no history of this. Why can't I have that less invasive test?
Why can't you have a fecal test? Oh, I'm sorry. So anyway, because we're out of time, and Dorothea has written, Lynn, speaking of TV shows, I am so tired of committing to a serial television show only to find it gets canceled at the end of its first or second season. This has happened to me at least a half dozen times in recent years. I'm just going to wait now to see if a show completes its run and then watch it on Netflix. Good idea. Good idea. And Dorothea, you've obviously got the same golden touch I'd have. Because whenever I like a show, whenever I like anything, it then disappears.
It gets canceled.
Yeah, it disappears from the marketplace. A marinade I like off the shelf. I see in the grocery store the other day has been discontinued and it's on sale. I bought 20 bottles.
Maybe it was just discontinued at that store.
Oh, well, anyway, if you need any need any soy and lime marinade, I got it. I got it by the bushelful. All right. Well, Suze, thank you. Thank you so very much.
Okay, talk soon.
Enjoy your balmy weather.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
And as for the rest of you, bye. And Potter tomorrow as scheduled. God, I hate the way the English say that. I like the way the English say most things, but scheduled?
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.